That Omni of Boggs has a bad habit of dropping them into less than ideal situations. A war zone, for example. This looks like World War I.
These landings start to get to you after a while.
Hard landings are an occupational hazard. Way to say in a Voyager school, it's not where you land, but how you land that counts.
Take cover! You're going to get yourselves killed!
Is that guy talking to us?
Yes, I believe he was talking to you.
You're Americans?
Sort of.
What's the year?
Well, you nearly got yourselves killed out there.
1917.
You're British?
Yes, but very far away from home. I'm afraid I shall never see England again.
I wouldn't be too sure about that. The English are gonna win this war against Germany.
Yeah, well, not with half our bloody army fighting a revolution here in Russia.
Their supplies can't get through. He hasn't eaten in 3 days. Bog gives him some beef jerky.
Is England supposed to be fighting in the Russian Revolution?
I think England sent some troops to Russia, but not till 1918. Not until the war was over.
So why are they here? Our friend says if the revolution succeeds, they'll depose the Tsar and the princesses will be in danger.
If only Queen Victoria hadn't allowed her other granddaughter to marry that Russian.
What Russian?
Well, the Queen betrothed Princess Victoria to Duke Michael of Russia.
And he's the one who got England involved in the Russian Revolution?
That's right. And with the lives of 2 English princesses at stake, we're honor bound to fight.
They need to back up a few years and stop that second marriage to the Russian guy. That place is very well groomed for a typical prairie in the Old West.
England.
No way!
Well, look for yourself. England, 1887, and we got a red line.
Oh, it's the English Old West. An arrow in the arm knocks the driver off the stagecoach. It's a runaway. Boggs springs into action. The horses don't seem to respond to the reins. They run into a castle and finally he gets them to stop. Meanwhile, a lady on a horse has picked up Jeffrey and carried him away from the Indians. Inside the castle, they find out what's going on. It's Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. He's putting on a performance for the Queen. The lady who grabbed Jeffrey is Annie Oakley.
Buffalo Bill Cody rode for the Pony Express and was an Army scout.
That's right, son, and helped settle the entire American frontier.
But he can't manage his own Wild West show. Next time there's a change in the act, let me know.
I didn't change anything. I don't know who they are.
By the way, you have passengers in the stagecoach. They'd like to exit now.
It was wonderful. Simply wonderful.
That's Queen Victoria.
Now all we have to do is find the princess.
Princess Victoria, let me help you.
Bingo.
Mr. Cody, my granddaughter and I enjoyed ourselves immensely.
She says, please introduce us to your new actors.
Oh, weren't they wonderful, Your Majesty? Give me names.
Phineas Bogg, Jeffrey Jones.
Bogg and Jones, my 2 latest discoveries, brought here at great expense from the prairies of the great American West, especially for the Queen's Golden Jubilee.
That's Buffalo Bill, all right. He could sell ice to a penguin.
Buffalo Bill, you are truly the king of showmen.
Buffalo Bill is a fraud. Mr. Cody and his accomplice make a mockery of the Queen's Jubilee.
Why, Duke Michael, how do they mock our Jubilee?
That's the Russian Duke. We have to stop from marrying the princess.
That's trouble.
He starts pointing out that the arrow in Bill's arm is blunted. There's a hidden driver who actually controlled the stage and says it's all fake. Bill says it's a reenactment, and jumping onto a moving stage is a dangerous stunt.
In fact, Annie's supposed to do it in the show, and it's a difficult stunt.
Too difficult for a woman, it seems.
Nothing's too tough for Annie. She can ride as good as any man I ever met, and nobody can touch her shooting.
If Miss Oakley is such a good shot, perhaps she would like to engage in a shooting match?
She says, you're on. He says, noon tomorrow, before the Queen announces my betrothal to the princess.
Oh, yes, and it's time for tea. Mr. Cody, you and your magnificent troupe will join us.
Your Majesty, we would be honored.
I think that would be a lapse of decorum.
Good. Lately, I've been up to my corset in decorum.
I think the Duke can see that the princess has the hotsies for Mr. Bog, and he's feeling a little insecure, yes? Bill is talking with the Duke's aide. The aide says the Duke has to win tomorrow. In Russia's eyes, he wouldn't look like a proper manly consort for the princess if he got beat by a girl. Bill says, what's your point?
We would like you to make sure Miss Oakley loses the match.
He says, we are genuinely talking about the fate of a national alliance here. You don't want that on your conscience. Bill tells Annie to throw the match, and she flat refuses. Bog and Jeffrey are talking with her, encouraging her to stand her ground.
Gentlemen, if you will excuse us, we would like a word alone with Miss Oakley.
Whatever you've got to say, you can say it in front of them.
Please, Mr. Bog.
You heard the lady. We're not going.
Let me go!
Bog is unconscious. Another goon grabs Jeffrey just as a fire starts near that powder keg that turned over.
Bog! Let's get that boy.
He can't wake Bog, and he's having trouble finding the Omni.
Shoot, push me! Push me! Push me!
Got it! Please, Omni, get us out of here!
The funeral the Queen held for them was so spectacular the Duke couldn't handle it and went back to Russia, only to have everyone there ask him what it was like to know the great Bog and Jones. Eventually he jumped off a bridge, but the bridge was only 8 feet high and the water was 6 inches deep, so all he did was bruise his behind.
Bog, are you okay?
Yeah. We gotta go back and help Annie.
We got a red light here.
Africa, 40 miles south of the equator, 1913?
Man, those Russian guys were sure big and gnarly.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
The chief of their village is dying of amoebic dysentery. Dr. Albert Schweitzer has been trying to treat him, but his assistant hasn't arrived with the medicines he needs. The local witch doctor is getting impatient.
The white missionary has failed. His medicine has failed. He cannot cure. He cannot heal.
The Sandi speaks the truth. Your Chief Nagandi is very sick, but there is still hope. He can be saved.
All your magic has done nothing.
A witch doctor cannot cure without his charms. I cannot help your chief until my medicines arrive.
Enter Bog and Jeffrey. Dr. Schweitzer doesn't know who they are, and they don't have a good explanation for why they're here.
They're not from the hospital. They must be slavers from the timber camp.
We're not slavers.
Keep them apart from our people. Their poison has spread far enough amongst us. Do not take your eyes off the white man until I return.
Well, this is interesting. The witch doctor said if the chief dies, so does Dr. Schweitzer. I want to know more about these slavers.
White men from the timber company have been terrorizing the villages.
So they kidnap people and make them work in the mills? Why not just hire them? Bog says, don't worry, doctor, we'll get you out of here. He says, no, I don't want to get out of here. I need to gain the confidence of the tribes if I'm going to help them with things like medicines.
Nagandi, their leader, dies. The drums will spread the word all up and down the Ogowe River that medicine has no power. Then all these people will be left with is the witch doctor and his charms.
Why doesn't he have any medicines?
But our canoe was capsized by hippopotamus on the way upriver. I lost all the supplies I had on hand.
Is there a hospital nearby?
I sent one of my men back to the hospital Lamborine for more of the drug, but he hasn't returned yet.
Maybe he's lost.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wild animals out there.
No, Joseph was born here.
Which means he's black, which is to say a target for those slavers you mentioned, who probably have no qualms about making a fast buck selling the medicines he's carrying, too.
I have faith in Joseph and in God.
Maybe I can give him a little help. Here's Joseph, I mean.
What are you gonna do?
Find Joseph.
Bog, that's a big jungle out there.
Do you know what trail he would have taken?
The doctor can draw him a map, for all the good it'll do him.
Forget it, Bog. Look at these guys. They never even get out of the village. They never take their eyes off us. Unless we give them something else to look at.
Like what?
Like magic.
He starts doing coin tricks. Soon the guards are wondering.
Watch my hands. Are they watching?
Yes, keep going.
Is Ball gone yet?
He's going, but let's give him some more time. Do it again.
Okay. Watch very closely this time.
But there's always a heckler in the crowd.
Open your hand. Open your hand. Your magic is as false as your medicine.
He never claimed it was real magic. It's called sleight of hand. But this guy is looking for any excuse to reject their medicines. If they work, he has to go back to school.
Hear those drums? Somebody's in big trouble.
You stay low while I check the water hole. We might be able to pick up another half a dozen volunteers before we head back.
Hurry up. I'll keep an eye on this bunch.
Guess who they are? The young man in the white shirt is Dr. Schweitzer's man, Joseph.
Sit down, boy.
I told you, my name is Joseph.
I said sit. Now that's much better.
Yes, it's much better. For Bog.
You're not Schweitzer's boy anymore. You're a timber worker now. You're gonna get up early and work hard for your food, like the rest of your friends.
You know, I don't see how we can work for Schweitzer and you at the same time. Back off!
What are you doing? You're one of us.
I may be white, but I'm definitely not one of you.
First things first. These are men, not commodities.
You got the medicine?
Yes, but the drums say the doctor will die with the chief.
Nobody's gonna die if we get it there in time. Untie him. Untie him!
Okay. Okay.
They run off to wherever they live. Bog is only interested in Joseph.
Come on, we gotta get that medicine back to the village.
He came up at me from behind.
Hicks, where are the others?
He let him go.
Well, then he'll just have to help us find them again.
Never mind, I think they found you.
Does it have to be the four-eye freed, or would any four do?
As long as they're strong and healthy, any four will do.
Oh, good. Well, how about the four right behind you?
How stupid do you think I am?
You're pretty stupid if you don't drop that rifle.
Too bad he's in 1913 before television was invented. If he watched a handful of TV shows, he'd know it's never a bluff.
What's wrong with you?
The chief has dropped into a coma. The witch doctor is ready to kill Schweitzer right now.
Dr. Schweitzer, Jeff, we got the medicine.
Doctor, are we in time?
You may try.
What about the boy and Mr. Bog?
Release all the white men. But beware. It would be unwise to test my mercy a second time.
Oh, and the other men you've kidnapped and enslaved, let them go. If they want to work for you, pay them the same wages you pay white men.
I hope the chief lives.
He does.
Green light.
Green light.
Well, you saved the chief and Dr. Schweitzer.
You know, he's quite a guy.
Yeah, he told me about this idea of his. Reverence for life.
Oh, yeah? Ja, first for them Leben?
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt those timber company guys to learn that phrase. Time to go back and help Annie.
We don't even know where they took her.
They haven't had time to take her to Russia, so I figured they got her someplace right here in England.
Bog, England is a big place.
Yeah, so we better start searching.
Jeffrey will be with you in a moment. He spotted something that needs his attention.
She didn't quit, Buffalo Bill.
I'm afraid she did, son. Quit and tried to burn the whole Wild West show down besides.
You know, it wasn't very nice of you to ask her to lose just so that Duke and his friends would keep coming back to your show.
Bill says, you have to understand something. When I was scouting for the Army, nobody wanted to come near me. I was beneath their consideration. Thanks to my show, royal people and beautiful women adore me, ask me to tea, let me kiss their hand. You can't understand what that contrast is like. I never want to be that poor man again. Now, his show went bankrupt twice in the course of his career, but that just proves that bankruptcy isn't the end of the world. In fact, if you don't have a ton of high-priced crap, it's pretty painless. I've done it twice myself, so he's in good company. But right now, Bill is riding high on his wave of fame.
Well, now you're rich and famous. You've got everything you ever wanted.
Yeah. But I did lose one thing somewhere along the way.
What's that?
My honor.
As so often happens, it takes a butt chewing from Jeffrey to wake someone up to reality. He didn't just throw dirt on his own honor, he threw it on Annie's too. He knows he has to make it up to her.
Annie didn't start that fire. It was started accidentally when the Duke's aide and his guys kidnapped her.
They kidnapped Annie? But I told the Russians they could talk to her. Boy, those dirty... We've got to get Annie back.
Bill has a fair idea where they're keeping her. Bog appears with a couple of horses, and he and Bill take off. Jeffrey is supposed to stay at the castle and try to stall the match until they get back. Sure he will. But there could be a problem. We saw that cinch strap isn't in the best of shape. Neither is Annie.
Dress up and talk fancy, but you're nothing but a lousy outlaw. It's bad enough you're taking me, but leaving that little boy and Mr. Bog to get blown up like that? In fact, I'm not going to sit still for this another second.
100 years or so later, we'd figure out a good way for women to deal with a goon like that. The temptation is always to go for the male soft spot. Trouble is, guys expect that, and we tend to be very good at protecting our valuables. Here's what he doesn't expect. Take the heel of your hand here and drive it up into his nose like this. The Duke's aide will move to protect his own nose like this, leaving that other spot exposed. You hit him there. The third guy doesn't know which spot to protect, so you have a read option with that one. Hit wherever is most available. Of course, if she did that, the big, strong boys wouldn't get to charge in and rescue her.
That's a Duke's carriage. Quick, behind the trees.
The Duke awaits me. I must be on my way to the castle. Don't look now. In back of me up the road, there are 2 men on horseback. They must not reach Miss Oakley.
He won't come out and say it, but his orders are kill them. While the 2 goons are inside trying to feed Annie caviar, apparently she doesn't grasp what a delicacy raw fish eggs are, Bill and Bog are finding a way in.
Impressed, ain't you?
Buffalo Bill never missed a chance at self-promotion, even if it was just a one random guy. I like the way Robert Donner is playing him. Without the facial hair, he's recognizable from a host of things, but a lot of us remember him best as Exodore on Mork and Mindy. Meanwhile, Duke Dingleberry is strutting around like a peacock. Too bad nobody wants to notice.
My opponent still has not arrived.
Buffalo Bill and Miss Oakley still have a few minutes before the match begins.
He'll be here. I mean, Buffalo Bill wouldn't dare ignore royal request.
You can't fool me, my little princess. You're just hoping Mr. Cody will bring back your friend.
You mean the guy who looks like a real person instead of a glorified dress-up mannequin?
Well, he was very brave and dashing.
And handsome. Broad-shouldered. Strong. Lean of limb.
Grandmother!
I'm old, darling. Not dead.
There's a good chance most everything still works. The Duke can't hide his jealousy.
Your Majesty, it's nearly 12 o'clock, and Miss Oakley is quite obviously not coming.
Nearly 12 is correct. What makes you so sure Miss Oakley will not be here?
Well, I'm only anxious to proceed with the rest of the afternoon's agenda. The sooner you declare this match forfeit, the sooner we might get on to other happier affair?
He's thinking, you may be drooling over the other guy, but I'm the one who's going to own you. And I don't doubt that's what he's thinking. Guys like him wouldn't know what to do with a woman who thinks for herself. And keep pressing him about how he knows she won't show. He seemed a little awkward. Might be worth finding out why.
I mean, after all, Your Majesty, the rules dictate.
Duke Michael, I dictate the rules. We will wait a few more minutes.
She can postpone it for 2 hours if she feels like it, Duke Pompous. Watch your step. The Queen can already tell Victoria despises you. Give her an excuse. Elsewhere, Geoffrey's cinch strap broke and his horse ran off. He's stuck in the middle of somewhere on something England.
Ну такая погода, ужасно. И вот это самое, Анnie Oakley, икру не любит. Но зато баба ничего. Ну такая погода, ужасно. И вот это самое, Annie Oakley, икру не любит.
I don't understand a whole lot of Russian, but I swear he just said creamy nougat. Annie grabs her gun, hops on one of the horses, and heads for the castle. Bill will use his impressive rope skills to tie these guys up good.
I gotta see the Queen. It's an emergency. Please, you gotta let me in. It's real important.
He's able to slip in and reach the Queen at the same time the guard catches up with him.
See, Annie Oakley doesn't have the courage to face me in this match.
She'll be here.
Geoffrey!
Please, Your Majesty.
Let the boy go. Is Miss Oakley with you?
No, but she's on her way right now.
What detained her?
Maybe you should ask the Duke and his friend.
He explains that they kidnapped her. The aide says, the boy is obviously lying.
I'm not lying.
Then perhaps this is a story that you made up.
No, please, Your Majesty, you have to believe me.
Why does he always say that? No, she doesn't. Explain how you know. Ask her why a total stranger would make up a story like that and bring it to the Queen of England. As usual, all the adults brush off the child's wild tales. They never learn.
I must believe the Duke.
Why?
A boy who tells a story can be forgiven. A man who kidnaps a woman cannot be forgiven.
Then you'd better pull out your Guide to How Not to Forgive Kidnappers book and look up how to treat the Duke. It's noon and Annie isn't there. She's writing as fast as she can, but the aide says it's time to declare a forfeit and get on with the betrothal.
Okay, then let it begin. Let the Duke take his turn first.
This is ridiculous. We should simply proceed with the betrothal.
I think Geoffrey's idea is splendid, Grandmother.
The Queen agrees. Take your turn, Duke. Good thing for Annie, he's not a quick draw artist.
I'm afraid Miss Oakley is not going to get here in time.
It's hard to tell. Duke Molasses is giving her every chance. He takes that long with every shot. And at that, he only hits 2 out of the 5 targets. He's done and Annie isn't there. The Queen stands up to declare the forfeit. All 5 targets from running horseback. Remember the Duke? I wonder who wins.
Your Majesty, the match is over. It's time for you to announce the princess's engagement to the Duke.
You two no-good cowards.
Buffalo Bill, what's the meaning of this?
He explains in extensive detail, including asking him to make Annie throw the match. He's still ashamed of that. The Queen is a little ashamed of something else.
Geoffrey, can you forgive me for having doubted your word?
Sure, Your Majesty.
You are more generous with me than I shall be with Duke.
And now it's time to pass the buck. Good aides are there to take the fall.
Your Majesty, I know nothing about this. My aide acted as Arizona.
You are responsible for any acts committed in your name.
I cannot go home without the princess.
Well, I hear Spain is a nice place to live because you're not going home then.
We must not lose sight of the alliances this marriage would provide.
Our country cannot be made any stronger by an alliance with men who are so weak.
The magic word. He storms off and the princess is free. Now may I seduce Mr. Bog, grandmother? Green light and all is well. Bog would like to think he has a chance with the princess, but it couldn't happen. Can you picture him dressed like the Duke? Just no.